Mr. President, allow me to thank you for convening this important and timely General Assembly meeting on the issue of the protection of Palestinian civilians in the occupied Palestinian territory. At the outset, I would like to begin by expressing my heartfelt condolences to the Palestinian people and the government over the loss of the civilians' lives, including women and children, and offer my wishes for the speedy recovery of all who are injured. We pray for the continued strength and resilience for the people of Palestine. Mr. President, the deteriorating situation in Palestine occupied territories, including East Jerusalem, is unacceptable and cannot continue. We are all bearing witness to the illegal and unproportionate use of military force against the Palestinian civilian population. Somalia supports the fundamental elements of a just and lasting peace in the region in accordance with the relevant General Assembly and the Security Council resolutions, which are in keeping with the principles of United Nations and international law, confirm the illegality of the occupation by the force and defend the right of the people's self-determination and independence. The evidence in this regard of the occupying force of more than 700 General Assembly resolutions adopted since 1948 and more than 80 Security Council resolutions is a source of major concern for Somalia and many other people in the world. Somalia reaffirms its unreserved support for the call of the total and unconditional end of the occupation for the recognition of the Palestinian people's right of self-determination and the exercise of sovereignty and independent state. In a global COVID-19 pandemic environment, the illegal blockade of Gaza continue in defiance of international humanitarian and human rights law. In that regard, Somalia is concerned with occupying powers' hindrance of humanitarian access of the United Nations Relief and Works Agency refugees in the Near East, UNRWA, in the occupied Palestinian territories, and call for facilitation of unimpeded timely passage of humanitarian supplies and staff. We commend the generous donors provided to UNRWA with a sufficient, predictable and sustainable funding so that an agency can continue its vital service to refugees and perform its humanitarian activities. Furthermore, we encourage the international community, including the relevant humanitarian agencies, civil rights groups, civil societies, and the private sector to redouble their effort in alleviating the suffering of Palestinians inside and outside the occupied territories. Mr. President, to conclude today, the just Palestinian cause is not merely a question. It's certainly a measure of collective will of humanity. It's a test for our conscience as well as the application of justice. For more than 70 years, the so-called question of Palestine in the agenda of the General Assembly and the Security Council has been receiving the same unified answers from the United Nations member states. In that regard, I reiterate that message without fear of contradiction that the only long-term option for the resolution of the long-standing military aggression is the end of the occupation of Palestinian territories and full recognition of a free, sovereign, and independent Palestine with East Jerusalem as its capital in accordance with the relevant resolutions of the Security Council and the General Assembly. Somalia and its people will continue to support and stand in solidarity with the Palestinian people and government in their unwavering pursuit of their legitimate rights, including to live in peace with secure and internationally recognized boundaries and unalienable rights of its people. ستتحرر القدس بإذن الله أبى من أبى وشاء من شاء والسلام عليكم